Hi, welcome to Making It in Missouri Homestead and Homeschooling Educational Video. Today we will be making tomato basil soup together from beginning to end. I will be going over the process of preparation, roasting your produce, the final steps of production, and canning for shelf-stable product. Join me on this journey as we create this soul-warming comfort dish together. To start your soup, you will need all of your produce washed and ready, a roasting pan, some olive oil, and I like to slowly roast mine to draw out a lot of the water that the bigger tomatoes hold. I will not be using just paste tomatoes. I have a huge variety in my garden, so I'll be using some yellow brandy wine, some orange jazz, got some pink boar, black brandy wine, Aunt Ruby's German green, Korean long, and I don't know the name of this one, but it's got a subname of Pinocchio, and I found those at Baker Creek. I've got onions and the garlic that I grew from my garden. Store-bought's fine also, but I'm just trying to use up what I have. And then I have some basil that I have already dehydrated that will go into the pot once all of our produce has been roasted. Okay, while we wait for these to finish roasting, I've got my next batch ready to go in, and then I have set aside my pot. So that first batch of roasted tomatoes will go in here, and we'll go ahead and start cooking that down while we wait for the next one, just to get it a little thicker. Salt and pepper set aside, 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 3 tablespoons of dried oregano, and a half a cup of dried basil. If you're using fresh basil, you're probably going to want to double that. So a cup at least. If you really like basil, even more. Then we're going to, once we got all of our tomatoes in here, cook it down a little more. And we're going to use a hand mixer. And then we're going to strain out some of that pulp after we've got that all mixed up. Okay, now that we have all of our tomatoes blended, and I've done a taste sample, and it is needing more salt and pepper, I'm gonna add some of that. And I've also decided not to strain it after all, because the immersion blender did such a fine job. So we're going to add our basil and our oregano and our red wine vinegar, and we are going to add, I'm not measuring, forgive me, about 1.5 tablespoons of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. And then we'll mix it and taste test it again and see if it still needs some more. Okay, so after adding 2 more tablespoons of salt, I finally have the flavor achieved that I like. So that would bring it to a total of, aside from the salt that we put on the tomatoes for roasting, 3.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. Keep in mind that I'm also going to be adding cream, so that's going to dilute it, that flavor a lot. So like I said, if you aren't sure, wait until you're ready to eat your soup to adjust your flavor. I already personally know my preference, so I went ahead with that. So if you have more, I guess, courage, add more salt. If not, then wait until you're ready to eat it. Okay, so now we're gonna start filling our jars. So just to go over one more time, the recipe for 30 pounds of tomatoes, I used about 15 garlic cloves, 2 medium to large onions, olive oil, kosher salt, and black pepper. And I roasted those at 325 for, it took about an hour and a half for each set of pans. So I did 2 pans at once, so about 3 hours to roast all those tomatoes. And reduced it just a little bit more. And then I used the immersion blender and decided at the end to go ahead and keep the pulp since it worked really well. I added about 3/4 of a cup of dried basil, 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 3 tablespoons of dried oregano, and added another 3.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. And then probably about 2 more teaspoons of black pepper. And now that I have the taste how I like it, a little tangy, a little on the saltier side, because like I said, we are adding cream. Well, at the end, when I'm ready to eat it, I'll add the cream. You never want to can anything with dairy in it. It's dangerous. So now we will can them up, and then we'll get them in the pressure canner and start that on 40 minutes at 11 pounds of pressure. Okay, now we have our jars in the canner, and as you can see, we are approaching 11 pounds of pressure. So now what I typically do is turn down the heat, because we don't want it to go over. I'm gonna turn that down real low so it can calm down. And just because I don't want to make any mistakes, we set the timer for 40 minutes. So we're off. And then in the background here, I've got a little extra that I added cream. So for 1 quart of tomato soup base that we're canning, I add 1.5 cups of heavy cream. And I'll show an end product in the bowl with a little cheese on top, making the kids some grilled cheese to go with it tonight, and we will test it out. All right, our canner is done. We've waited for the pressure to release, pull them out, safely let them cool, and we'll come back tomorrow and we will label them and make sure all of our lids have sealed properly, and then enjoy. I hope that you found this helpful and your soup turned out wonderful. And if you like this, give a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and help me grow this channel. Thank you for joining me today.